Hi, my name is Robin Wong and I have here with me the Olympus 100-400 f5-6.3 lens, and I want to answer some popular questions regarding image stabilization in this lens. Let's do this! Before we start, here are some important disclaimers. I'm not representing Olympus in any of these claims. I'm answering the questions based on my experience using Olympus products all these years, my knowledge and understanding on how Olympus products work in general. Let's start with the most popular question. Why is there no 5-axis sync IS? Olympus has the incredible 5-axis sync IS for 12-100 Pro lens and the 300 Pro lens. The lens IS and the body's 5-axis IS will work hand in hand, giving you much better stabilization. However, that is not the case for 100-400. Olympus has decided to exclude 5-axis sync IS from this lens. Some people are very quick to point out that Olympus is intentionally crippling the lens by not having the 5-axis sync IS mechanism. I don't think it is as simple as that. I believe Olympus wants to give us the best that they can in their products, but there are several other considerations in lens design that they do have to look into. To keep the size of the lens small and somewhat not too heavy. This is already not a very small lens. Look at the size. If Olympus includes the 5-axis sync IS, having a much more powerful lens size inside this lens, that particular image stabilization mechanism in the lens will require more room to move to compensate for the shake. That will also mean that this lens will definitely have to be bigger, much bigger. To maintain this size, Olympus managed to squeeze in lens image stabilization that has 3 steps EV effectiveness. That is not too bad. It's not a bad compromise if you ask me. I'd rather take a smaller lens with image stabilization that is usable rather than a very, very powerful 5-axis sync IS, but this lens will double in size and perhaps even much longer and heavier. That is not a very good alternative to work with. Take a look at 12-100 versus 12-40. 12-40 f2.8 Pro doesn't have image stabilization and it is very small and compact. 12-100 f4 is not even f2.8. Yes, the focal length stretches to 100mm at the end, but look at the size. It is so much bigger than the 12-40 just because Olympus has included 5-axis sync image stabilization capability in the 12-100. Similarly, look at the 300 f4 Pro lens. It is not that small. And if you want to truly compare, look at the 100-400 versus the coming 100-50-400 Pro. Just look at how much bigger the 100-50-400 Pro is, having the 5-axis sync IS, which will be incredible. I can't believe to test that when that lens comes out. So the main reason is just to maintain the size, yet still have the lens stabilization, which works quite effectively. The next question that's frequently asked is if you can choose the lens image stabilization or the body's 5-axis image stabilization, wouldn't the body's 5-axis IS be more effective? Since if you are using the EM1 Mark III, Olympus claims to have 7 EV steps compensation on the body IS versus the lens only having 3 EV steps. It sounds like the body is a lot more capable in stabilizing the lens than the lens IS itself. While on paper specification, that sounds like the body is a better option for image stabilization, but in real practice, that is not the case. Bear in mind that the claim for the 7 EV steps compensation is only true if you use the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro lens. The test was done by Olympus on a CIPA rating at 40mm telephoto end of the 12-40 lens. That's how they claim to have 7 steps effectiveness. That is not the case if you attach the 100-400 lens on the Olympus Olympus camera. The effectiveness of the body image stabilization works for shorter lenses, maybe 12 to 40, 75 or 12 to 100. The body 5-axis IS will still be able to stabilize that lens very, very effectively, but going further than that, 200, 300, or even this mind-boggling 400mm lens, definitely the lens image stabilization will work more effectively. Why? Because when we take photographs with a long lens, as we extend it at 100 to 400 lens, the shake happens in the lens. The shake is happening away from the camera body, while the 5-axis IS in the body on the sensor itself does a great job in stabilizing the shake, but the shake is not happening near the body, it's happening away from the body. There is only so much that the 5-axis IS in the body can do. It will be much more efficient if you have the image stabilization inside the lens to stabilize the lens movement. It is just too far away for the body IS to work. Now, yes, it is only 3 steps EV. I understand it doesn't sound impressive, but trust me, Olympus has always been very conservative when it comes to image stabilization claims or any other claims in their camera. And in my personal test, I can stretch it down to maybe 4 or sometimes 5 EV compensation. But don't take my words for it. Olympus claimed 3 EV steps. You can definitely get 3 EV steps effectiveness depending on how much coffee you drink or depending on how steady your hands are. I'm very sure a lot of you will be able to get much better stabilization than 3 EV steps. Another question that I've been getting is, if you have the lens IS and the body IS, do we have to choose which IS to use, or what happens when you turn on both IS at the same time? Now, this answer is dependent on which camera body you are using. If you're using EM1 Mark III, EM1 Mark II, EM1X and EM5 Mark III, these newer cameras from Olympus, then you don't have to worry about the image stabilization. Just turn on both the lens and the body so that the body image stabilization will further stabilize the lens by adding the rolling axis stabilization. So you get partial sync image stabilization. It's almost like 3-axis image stabilization. You get the pitch and yaw stabilization on the lens, while the camera body will take care of the rolling stabilization. That will definitely give you much better stabilization than just purely depending on the lens alone or the body alone. Now, if you're not using any of the previously mentioned cameras, if you're using EM10 series, if you're using the Pan series Olympus cameras, or if you're using Panasonic cameras, then you can turn on the lens image stabilization and you have to turn off the body image stabilization. This will prevent the image stabilization from both different parts to clash with each other. I've also received comments on some people noting that, hey, the Panasonic 100 to 400 has dual IS when it's used with Panasonic bodies. That is amazing. I can't say anything to that because I've not used the 100 to 400 extensively and I don't have the lens, I don't have a Panasonic camera, so I can't really comment on that. But let me ask you this question. What makes you think that a Panasonic 100 to 400 with a Panasonic body with the dual IS, what makes you think that the image stabilization on that combination is better than what Olympus is offering with the 100 to 400 lens on an Olympus OMD body? You still get sync IS, you get 3-axis IS, you get 3 steps EV compensation. Olympus gave you an exact number, which I believe is conservative. Panasonic didn't really give you any numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if you know something that I don't in the comments below. Trust me, Olympus, this 3 steps EV compensation, the 3-axis sync with the rolling stabilization from the body is no slouch. Someone will have to do the comparison. I'm still an Olympus visionary. I'm not allowed to do comparison with a Panasonic camera and lens. That is just against my contract. But I'm sure some of us will do it and we will find out once and for all which image stabilization reigns supreme. I hope I've answered most questions and cleared some misunderstandings surrounding the image stabilization that's found inside the Olympus 100-400 lens. If you have further questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you found my sharing useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can donate directly to my PayPal account. I'll put the links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution can go a long way to help me to continue making videos like this and publish it right here in this channel. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to this channel if you've not already done so. And I will definitely see you again in the next one. Until then, please go out and take more photographs if you can. And please always stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.